The tip of the heart is referred to as the apex, and then the top of the heart is referred to as the base. Kind of backwards. This is the base, this is the apex. This is the pericardial sac, okay? And then the epicardium is just, and it's also called visceral pericardium. It's going to be underneath that. It's closer to the heart, just like you had the meningeal layers that protect the brain, kind of the same thing. But just know both of them cushion and protect the brain from friction. Okay? This, what's been cut, this is called the pulmonary trunk. Okay? That's at the front. The pulmonary trunk. This right here is your aorta. This really big opening at the top. It's your aorta. Then right here, I'm going to turn it. I'll just stick my fingers so you can see it. Okay? This is 1 tube. Superior vena cava, inferior vena cava. Okay? So superior and inferior. Okay? Superior at the top, inferior at the bottom. And you can kind of see it better on this one. That's superior vena cava, inferior, but you can kind of see that it's a continuous tube. You know, and they both empty blood into the right atrium. Okay? This is called the interventricular groove. Okay? One of the hearts. It's called the interventricular groove. And you can see right here, that's the interventricular groove on here. And that will be, on here. Okay? Alright, when you open it up, remember telling left from right, the left side is going to be thicker. This is a lot thicker than this. You're not looking at this part. This part is the interventricular septum. Interventricular, between the ventricles, and septum, it separates the ventricles. But all of this is the muscle called myocardium. The lighter muscle is called endocardium, okay, on the inside. But when you're looking at the myocardium, the left myocardium is a lot thicker than the right, because the left side is the side that's pumping blood further away from the heart. Okay, the right side is just pumping into the lungs. Alright? So, on the left side, this valve right here is the mitral or the bicuspid valve. And of course, it's been cut, so this is some of it too. Okay? Up here. That's your bicuspid valve or the mitral valve. These strings, that's your chordae tendineae. Alright? And then the muscle, you can see it really good up top. That's papillary muscle. Okay? Where it bulges, that's papillary muscle. Alright, and even at the bottom, this is just a good one to point out because it sticks out so much. Alright? Alright, so remember, above the valve, that space is atrium. So this would be left atrium. See, this thicker side is the left atrium. And then if it's below the valve, that space is left ventricle. As remember, the heart is dissected, but both sides, right here, that's both left atrium. Here's your valve, then below the valve is going to be left ventricle. Okay? Then you have your right side. Here is your tricuspid valve. Okay? Pull it up a little bit. Okay? That's your tricuspid valve. Alright, you have chordae tendineae attached to it. They're not as long or whatever. But you have chordae tendineae and you still have papillary muscle. If you look down in the bottom of it where it kind of bulges, that's still papillary muscle at the bottom of the chordae tendineae. Okay? So, the space above the valve, which on this side is the tricuspid valve, is going to be right atrium. Below it, right ventricle. Okay? Atria at the top, ventricles at the bottom. Left, right. Alright. This valve here, which is also, the other part is up here, since it's been cut. This is the aortic semilunar valve. And there was a really neat trick when we had another brain that was dissected better. If you put your finger, which my finger is long enough, here's the aorta. Put this through. Oh, doesn't need to go that long. The valve that it comes out touching is aortic semilunar. Okay. Alright. Then for the pulmonary, I'll show it to you from both angles. It's the same thing, but this just isn't dissected as well. Let me do it with my finger so I don't. Alright. Can't see it quite as well. It looks kind of gray. You see? That's pulmonary semilunar valve. kind of see where it looks gray. Right there. But I'll show it to you too from inside here. You see this? That's the pulmonary semilunar valve. Where it's kind of gray and wrinkled up. At the top. That's pulmonary semilunar valve. Okay. A valve is just like a cusp of tissue. Can you see it? Okay. That's pulmonary semilunar valve. Okay. Let me look at my sheet. Alright, I think I said this is the interventricular septum. Coronary sinus, you won't have to label that. Okay, and then the pulmonary veins. So I forgot. The pulmonary veins will come in right here. Okay, so this is your aorta. So to the left of the aorta, your pulmonary veins will come in through right here. Alright, and they will empty into the left atrium. It's right here. Okay, so when you do the flow of blood, remember you have, alright, superior and inferior vena cava back here. Alright, it'll come in through superior and inferior vena cava, and it's going to come into this space, which is your right atrium. Okay, from the right atrium, it passes through the tricuspid valve and goes into the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it'll go back up and actually pass through the pulmonary semilunar valve, go through the pulmonary trunk, takes the pulmonary route, and goes to the lungs. Okay, so let's do it again quickly. Superior vena cava, right atrium, pass through tricuspid valve, right ventricle, pulmonary semilunar valve, pulmonary trunk, pulmonary arteries carried away to the lungs, and then it'll come back through the pulmonary veins. Okay, goes through the pulmonary veins, and then it goes into the left atrium, passes through the bicuspid or mitral valve, goes into left ventricle, passes through aortic semilunar valve, comes up through the aorta, and goes through arteries or arteries